Hey everyone, it's Michelle with Florida Keys Birding, and welcome to Flamingo Bingo today. We're going to be talking about all the flamingo sightings all over the state of Florida and throughout the United States as well. Hurricane Idaliah, as you may have heard, has dropped flamingos all over the place. So we're going to talk about where they came from, how we figured it out, and what to do if you have a flamingo sighting. So let's start north to south. First sighting up in Pensacola, up in the northern part of the Panhandle in Florida. They've also been seen near Panama City, Tallahassee, at St. Mark's. Now, there was one flamingo that was already there at St. Mark's due to a previous hurricane. It's still there, but some other friends have been seen there as well. So this flamingo, which they call Pinky, has some friends now. So we're hoping that maybe they start a breeding colony. That would be great. So also near Cedar Key, Steinhatchee area, heading down from the west coast down to Tampa. The most, I would say, that has been the heaviest area of sighting would be like Tampa, Fort DeSoto, Pinellas County in general, all around that area. So that general Tampa region, Boca Grande, all the way down to Fort Myers and Cape Coral, and even Marco Island, and of course Everglades National Park. Now, there were previously flamingos living in Everglades National Park in remote areas that most of the time you wouldn't see them. Now, if you ever did want to see flamingos, usually Snakebite was the best area to go. And canoeing out there, usually that trail is, I'll just put it this way, that trail sucks. That trail is horrible. I tried to hike that trail one time and I was getting attacked by mosquitoes. The trail was overgrown, it was flooded. People say there's lots of snakes there, hence they call it snake bite. Isn't that funny? I swear to God, it's called snake bite. But BIGHT, like bite. Yeah, not what you think, but that trail is awful. So they say it's best to canoe out there, and you can't really see them from the trailhead anyways. So just a quick tip, but they say they're living in different areas, and flamingos have been spotted in the Everglades, and I believe they're being monitored before this. But I believe there's more now, and there were banded ones that were found that were not local to the area. So we'll talk about that shortly. And then let's keep heading south down to the Florida Keys. So I did see a flyover in Key Largo. I did report it on eBird. And then also some flybys have been seen in Tavernier at Harry Harris Park, in Marathon at, what was the name of that street? You can go on eBird. There was one area, but yeah, they've been seen near Bahia Honda. They've been seen in Big Pine, and they've also been seen in, have they been seen in Key West? I believe they have been seen in Key West as well. Okay, so heading back north, yeah, so we've been seeing them all over the Keys, pretty much the lower Keys, different areas around there. So then going up Biscayne National Park, there was a sighting as well. Yes, at Biscayne National Park, there was one seen out that way near Homestead area, and then going a little bit farther north in Jupiter, and then a little bit farther north from there, Melbourne, and then Gainesville and Jacksonville as well. The Gainesville one was kind of crazy because it was very far inland. So this is Flamingo Bingo for Florida. Hopefully you've got one of these sightings from somewhere in Florida that you could put on your Flamingo Bingo card. Okay, so let's take a look at throughout the United States and some of the flamingos that have been seen outside of Florida. Okay, so as you can see, we've got Florida, we also have Texas, Alabama, South and North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, and Pennsylvania. Now tell me how the heck flamingos got all the way up there. Now I could see, in Florida where they came from, it totally makes sense because the way that the flamingos have been seen, it looks like Idaliah like dropped them or something across the state. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I mean it's Pennsylvania, Ohio. Come on now. What happened here? Where did you? They got lost. I don't know. They must have just flew and just kept flying. I don't know what happened there. So let me know if you can put any of any of these any of your state sightings on this flamingo bingo card. Okay, let's take a look a little farther down. And we're going to talk about where they came from, which we found out was in the Yucatan, Mexico. So initially, when I heard about the flamingo sightings, that was my first thought, is that they were from the Yucatan. This is a picture here of the bands that they use in the population that they track in the Yucatan. There's actually a program down there where they track breeding, and if anything happens to where the parents abandon the nest, they'll take the eggs and they'll raise them and they'll hatch them and then they'll reintegrate them with the flock when they're old enough. So there's actually a really cool story that somebody shared about that on YouTube, and I'm going to have it in the description below. So you can click on it. It does have English subtitles, so you can watch it. But it's about 23 years ago, about the flamingo banding that was done in the Yucatan for that population, and it talks about a jaguar that came and was trying to get chicks and trying to kill the flamingos, and how they took some of the eggs after they were abandoned. Really cool story. I want to kind of show you, and let's talk about that real quick. So Mariah from the Hawk Watch, she was actually the one who posted this. So I'm going to read it, and she had posted this on Facebook with the link, and like I said, the link will be available in the description below. So almost a week ago now, this was a couple weeks ago, obviously by now. So she says, almost a week ago now, Hurricane Idaliah made landfall in Florida and brought many visitors with her. Among some of those were dozens of flamingos. People have been reporting them all over Florida, the Californias, the Carolinas, Virginia, Ohio, Tennessee, Alabama, and now Texas. Down here in the Keys, one tends to show up sooner or later, but would never have I thought I would see 8 at once. And then she says, Gianna, which is also from the Hawk Watch, it says that just as Gianna and I were counting, we're about to be done counting at the Florida Keys Hawk Watch for the day, Amy Graham reported these beauties at Grassy Key, spot less than 5 minutes from their platform. They raced over quickly, got their scopes, and it was then that they couldn't believe what they were seeing. But even more shocking to notice, one of them was banded. She reached out to Gina in hopes to get in touch with someone from the banding in the Yucatan, a known location for flamingo breeding colonies. Correspondence with Barbara McKinnon and Alexander DeZib led to finding out this bird was hatched and ringed at Rio Lagartos Biosphere Reserve in the year 2000, making it a 23-year-old flamingo. So the flamingo that they saw in Marathon, actually a couple of people from our group spotted them as well, and a couple of the girls took pictures of the bands after Larry Manfred shared with us what the bands look like, and they did notice that one was banded, and we were able to identify it based on the banding. So she writes, learning more about this bird's life, Rodrigo Migoya, director of Niños y Crías informed them that this was the year the colony was protected from a jaguar intrusion. Many veterinarians and researchers from different countries provided great assistance that year to incubate and raise around 200 flamingo chicks. And she posts the link for the video, and that's the one I have in the description below. You can click on it. I did watch the video. It was pretty awesome, and that's the one I was telling you about. So this one is from that flock, the one that we saw. So wow, a 23-year-old flamingo. Pretty amazing. So she says, a huge thank you to everyone involved in this discovery. This is just one of many examples of how bird banding continues contributes to our understanding of our feathery friends. If you ever find a banded bird, get as much information about it, color of the band, what leg it was on, and orientation, location you saw it, and report it. Flamingo DXCL has not been seen since this day, but I bet they are all enjoying their little vacation in the Florida Keys. So not only here, but somebody also identified a band at snakebite in the Everglades, and I believe by now there's a few others in other parts of Florida that were identified by their Yucatan bands as well. So this is super duper exciting. And you may be wondering, will the flamingos stay in Florida? Well, Florida was actually their native habitat. I have another video where I kind of talk about this. And flamingos used to live here, native. And they still do, but in just very small numbers. They were hunted for their plumage, hundreds of years ago. So, they left or there weren't any left, here. So, my guess is that yes, they are going to stay. I think there's just so many here now, and we are their native environment, so why not? Right? I like to think that they will. I'm an optimist, and I think that they're going to stay. So that's my bets that they're going to stay. So we'll find out. It remains to be seen. So let's talk about what to do if you do see a flamingo. Just a couple of things to keep in mind. So don't approach the flamingo, keep your distance, give it some space. These birds have been on a long journey. I'm sure it was super stressful for them, whether they rode tailwinds or whether they were stuck in the eye. We really don't know how they got here exactly, but we know where they're from. We don't know how Idaliah brought them. We don't know if they were taking off ahead of Idaliah. We don't know, but we know that they're here. So they need to rest and they need to be able to feed. They're looking for, a habitat that's rich in food and all those things. So, and flamingos generally, I've noticed, I have had a couple flamingo sightings myself before this in a couple years past, and I have noticed that flamingos don't really they don't really like people. They're not like some birds that will just come right up to you and they don't really mind that you're here. Flamingos seem to be kind of spooky, and they kind of get spooked easily. So number one, don't approach it. Don't take a selfie with it. Keep your distance. If you're going to observe them with binoculars or with a long lens on your camera. So take all the pictures you want, but from a safe distance. Don't stress them out. So number two, report it on eBird. We want as much information for the people who track these things as possible. When you report on eBird, you're contributing to conservation, and that's data that we can use when lawmakers want to build on areas that need to be conserved, and this gives us data tracking birds, tracking numbers in birds, tracking breeding and migrations and all that kind of stuff. So reporting on eBird is something that you really should do. I know a lot of people don't, but if you like the science and you want to protect the birds that you watch, you should report on eBird. It's helpful. So number three, check for a band and report it. See if the bird is banded. So a lot of these birds, like I said, came from the Yucatan. It'd be really cool if you found a banded bird. If you don't know where to report it, you can report it here at shorebird at myfwc.com, and then they can let you know what to do from there. And then lastly, do not disturb the birds or stress them out. Don't, do anything that you're disturbing their feeding or their habitat or anything like that. Just give them space, respect them, and observe them from a safe distance. So I just wanted to talk about this, about the flamingo craze that's going on right now. And if you want to see one, just check eBird for the latest sightings. It'll tell you exactly where they've been seen last. I can tell you, if you go on eBird, you can check in the Keys or in Tampa, or I don't know, anywhere in Florida. I mean, really, they've been all over the place, and you can find yourself a flamingo and get some pictures and check it off your life list. So, but like I said, don't stress them out, don't get too close, and don't go to dangerous areas just to see them. I heard of some people going into Estero Bay, and I heard that that was a really dangerous area, to go out by yourself. So don't, do stuff like that. Just go to an area where is easy to get to, and unless you're very experienced and you know what you're doing. So, all right, everybody have a great night, and I hope you got to see a flamingo. And if you have, comment below and let me know if you got to see one of the wild Yucatan flamingos. Thanks.